All right, let's take a quick journey deep inside the materials that, literally build our modern world. We're going to connect the dots between the fuel in your car and the plastic bottle in your hand. And believe it or not, it all starts with one single, incredibly important element. Let's dive in.
So, let me ask you this. What could possibly connect gasoline, a plastic bag, and even the DNA inside your very own cells? I know, it sounds like a weird riddle, right? But the answer is actually pretty amazing. They are all built around the exact same element. It all comes down to carbon chemistry.
And that brings us right to what I like to call carbon's chemical kingdom. See, to answer that question, we have to understand the undisputed king of all the elements when it comes to building complex molecules.
And that element is, of course, carbon. Carbon is so special. It is so versatile and forms so many millions of different compounds that it gets its very own branch of chemistry called organic chemistry. Just about every material and every living thing is based on good old carbon. Now, the simplest of all these organic compounds are the hydrocarbons. And the name gives it away, right? They're made of only hydrogen and carbon. You could think of these as the foundational bricks for everything, from the fuels that power our world to the very plastics we're about to build.
Okay, so we know we're working with hydrocarbons, but now let's meet the specific building blocks we're actually going to use. Because not all of these bricks are created equal, and their tiny little differences have some huge consequences.
We can basically split them into two main families, alkanes and alkenes. The key difference here, and this is super important, is the bond. See, alkanes only have single bonds between their carbon atoms, which makes them really stable, kinda less reactive. But alkenes, they have at least one double bond. And that double bond is everything. It makes them way more reactive and ready to form new connections. And really, this is the whole secret right here. That double bond is the key. It's like a chemical handshake, just waiting to open up and grab onto something new. While an alkane's hands are kind of full, an alkene has a hand free, ready to link up with a neighbor. And that reactivity is exactly what we're looking for.
So, let's introduce the hero of our polymer story, ethene. It's the simplest possible alkene you can get. Just 2 little carbon atoms and 4 hydrogen atoms. It's small, it's simple, and it has that all-important double bond. This tiny molecule is our monomer, our single Lego brick, if you will.
And now for the magic trick. How in the world do we get from a gas full of these tiny individual ethene molecules to a solid plastic bottle? Well, this is where we turn our little monomers into massive polymers.
The process is called polymerization, and it's all in the name, really. Poly means many, and mer means parts. We're simply taking many small parts, our monomers, and chemically linking them all together to form one single giant molecule, a polymer.
So check out how this works. You start with thousands and thousands of these little ethene monomers just floating around. Then, under the right conditions, that reactive double bond breaks open. And this is the cool part. This allows each molecule to link up with its neighbors, kind of zipping together to form this incredibly long chain. We started with ethene, and now we have polyethene, or as you and I know it, polyethene.
And the result is no longer a gas, not at all. It's now a solid macromolecule with a super high molecular mass and completely new properties. We've literally created a brand new material from the ground up.
Okay, so we've made this polymer chain. Big deal, right? What can we actually do with it? Well, let's explore how this simple process gives us all the complex plastics that really do shape our world.
And this is where things get really cool. We've seen how ethene makes polyethene for things like bottles and bags, but what if we start with a slightly different monomer? If you just swap one hydrogen atom for a chlorine atom, you get chloroethene. Polymerize that, and boom, you get PVC, used for tough stuff like water pipes. Or swap all 4 hydrogens for fluorine atoms, and you get tetrafluoroethene, which polymerizes into Teflon. Yep, for your non-stick pans.
So, let's focus on polyethene for a second. Its properties really make it a modern marvel. It's an electrical insulator, which makes it safe. It's totally impervious to water, which keeps products fresh. And it's both lightweight and strong. That's the perfect combination for everything from shopping bags to milk jugs.
Now, PVC, it shares some of those useful traits, but it adds a really crucial one. It's fire resistant. And that single property makes it an ideal material for construction. We're talking water pipes, window frames, the stuff that protects electrical wires. Places where safety is just absolutely paramount.
And Teflon? Well, Teflon is in a class all its own. By swapping out all the hydrogen atoms for fluorine, you create a material that's incredibly resistant to high heat and, of course, has that famously non-stick surface. It's the perfect example of how designing the monomer lets us design the final product's properties.
I mean, these materials are amazing. They're cheap, they're versatile, and you can engineer them for almost any purpose. But this story has a final chapter that we really need to explore: the polymer's lasting legacy.
First, it's really important to realize that polymers are not just man-made. Not by a long shot. Nature is the original master of polymerization. DNA, proteins, the starch in a potato, these are all natural polymers. They form the very building blocks of life itself, which is a pretty stark contrast to the artificial ones we cook up in a lab. So, what's the catch? With all these amazing, incredible artificial polymers we've created, what's the downside? The answer lies in one word: biodegradation. This is basically nature's cleanup crew. It's the process where living things, like bacteria and fungi, break down complex materials and return them to the environment. Natural polymers are designed to be part of this cycle.
And here is the problem, the big one. Most of the artificial polymers we've just been celebrating are not biodegradable. Nature's cleanup crew just doesn't recognize them. They don't decay, so they just accumulate, piling up in our landfills and oceans. And burning them isn't a perfect solution either, since that can release all sorts of poisonous gases.
And that leads us to the great challenge for modern chemistry. The goal isn't just to create useful polymers anymore, it's to create smart polymers, materials that are strong and durable when we need them to be, but can also break down safely when we're done with them. We started this whole journey with a simple hydrocarbon and built an entire world of materials from it. We figured out how to link the monomers together. The question now is, can we learn how to unlink them? Our world is absolutely built on polymers. The challenge for all of us is to see if we can redesign those building blocks for a much cleaner future.